All right, many thanks to Alex. To understand how all of this is going to impact the case going forward and what to expect next, we'll bring in former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani, joins us live from L.A. Neama, good to have you. The former president has already been found liable of sexual abuse and defamation. Could E. Jean Carroll just continue to sue if the former president keeps talking about her or posting about her?
Well, Christian, she can, and let's talk about why we're here for Jean Carroll 2.0, essentially, because there was a legal issue. Trump argued that he was immune from civil liability for statements made while he was president. Of course, that presidential immunity issue is an issue in the criminal case in D.C., but also because after the judgment in the first trial where a jury awarded $5 million, the president came out publicly on social media and defamed Jean Carroll again. So to the extent that he continues to do so, we might have Jean Carroll, the third version, coming up as well.
Neama, how does the prosecution go about convincing a jury that the former president should be on the hook for an additional $10 million? I'm sure some jurors might be saying to themselves, haven't we been here before?
Well, the jurors don't necessarily know about the judgment in the first case, although everyone who's watching TV is aware, because really we're talking about very specific defamatory statements during periods of time, during Trump's presidency and after the trial. So those are the only statements that the jurors can award damages for. And because liability isn't an issue, the judge has already found that Trump committed the sexual assault. It's going to be a pretty fast trial. We saw this with Rudy Giuliani, for instance, or Alex Jones, those defamation cases where because of different procedural issues, the defendants really weren't able to put on a defense. So it's not a matter of if they defamed the plaintiff, but how much they have to pay for it.
Let's look at the defense side. We've seen Trump's attorneys tell jurors that Carroll has prospered since she came forward with allegations. We also know that Trump has said he'll testify in this case, although he's changed his mind before. What sort of limitations are in place in what can be said during this trial, and how might that affect defense strategy?
Well, it's very hard to be a defense attorney in this case. They're really, arguing or fighting with one hand tied behind their back because they can't argue the issue of liability or fault. I mean, it's just a question of how much Carroll should be paid, if any. So what they're trying to argue is to minimize those damages, saying that she really wasn't harmed to the extent that she says she was. That's actually helped her. So they're trying to drive that number down from 10 million to the low millions or even the hundreds of thousands or nothing. But it's really just a question of damages here. So there's not a whole lot they can do. And I agree with you, Christian. I would be very surprised if Trump took the stand in this case. He didn't in the other civil trial in New York related to the AG's office. And I don't think he will here because he has too much exposure because he has, obviously, these criminal trials looming.
Neama, with the last 30 seconds we have left, Trump is clearly trying to shift the narrative here, putting in question the judge's ability to fairly handle the case. The former president posted earlier today on his social media platform, Truth Social, that he feels he needs to attend every moment of the defamation trial because the judge is hostile and suffers from a major case of Trump derangement syndrome. How likely is this to affect the case, Trump's defense, or Judge Kaplan himself with the last 30 seconds we have?
I don't think so, Christian, because, although Trump's conduct in the courtroom was shameful, Judge Kaplan as well. You're talking about empty threats. Anyone else would have been held in contempt, been removed from that courtroom, but Judge Kaplan is treating Donald Trump differently than any other party in any other courtroom in this country.
Interesting point. Neama Rahmani, former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, thank you so much for being with us, as always.
Thanks for having me.